KidsCo. My name is Alex, and today I'll be teaching you how to make focaccia. Focaccia is an Italian flatbread, kind of similar to pizza. But the first thing you have to do when you're making focaccia is wash your hands. Okay, once you've washed your hands, you want to assemble all your ingredients. For the dough, I'm using 300 grams of plain white flour, 200 grams of whole wheat flour, and 50 grams of semolina flour, just for taste. You don't have to use that combination. You could just do 500 grams of plain or 500 grams of wheat, doesn't really matter. Then we have our active dry yeast, that's 11 grams. Our salt, that's 6 grams. We have 300 milliliters of lukewarm water. You don't want that to be too warm, because if it is too warm, it'll kill the yeast when you're trying to when you mix them together. You need olive oil, and for my garnishes, I'm using rosemary, sage, grape tomatoes, and green olives. I would suggest using a scale to measure all that out, and you need a big bowl to mix that all in. So I'm gonna get started. Okay, once you've got that all in your mixing bowl, you just want to grab a whisk and you want to stir until it's all incorporated. Make sure it's very finely mixed. All right. Once that is mixed, you want to take your water, which I've poured a little bit of olive oil into. Just gonna mix that up. And then you're gonna pour about half in. You wanna grab a, whatever this is, I've forgotten. And then you're gonna wanna mix that in. You want it to be a bit of a shaggy dough. So I'm gonna put the camera back. Well, you keep adding the water until you get to a shaggy dough consistency, and once you do, you mix it with your hands. But I'm gonna put the camera down and then show you what that looks like once I'm done. So just keep stirring and adding more water. Okay, once you've got to a consistency somewhat like this, you kind of want to use your hands to mix the rest in. Just massage it in. This is much easier with two hands, but I'm holding the camera. Okay. Once you've got it all solidly mixed together and it's kind of sticking in a little dough ball like that, that's when you want to move it to your workstation and start kneading it. If you have a auto mixer, that would also work, but I don't, so I'm just gonna use my hands. All right, I forgot to take a video of me kneading, so I'm just gonna show you really quick, but it's pretty easy. You just push in one direction, pull over, push in the other, pull back over, push again, and keep doing that until you get something that's kind of smooth like this. For me, it took me about 5 to 6 minutes. It might take you shorter, it might take you longer, but just keep going until you have this kind of nice, smooth, texture. And then once you've done that, you kind of want to roll it up into a ball. It's a little difficult one-handed. Then you're gonna have to get a bowl with some olive oil. Rub that around. Then you're gonna take the dough and then plop it in there, cover it. And then you're gonna get plastic wrap or a damp cloth towel, and you're gonna cover that up and then leave it to rest and rise for 1 hour at room temperature. Okay, I've got that nice and sealed with the plastic wrap, so I'm just gonna put that to the side. and let it rest for an hour. Okay, so it's been an hour and my dough has doubled in size. That's really what you want to wait for. It's not actually a set hour, you just want the dough to double in size, which it has. So I'm baking mine in a 9-inch by 13-inch pan. And before you get started with anything else, what you need to do is you need to wash your hands again. Okay, to the pan that you plan on baking in, you need to add olive oil to the bottom of it and then spread it all around so it's evenly coated on all the surfaces. I added some semolina flour, that's also not necessary. And then I added salt and black pepper. Once you've prepared your baking pan, you want to take your dough and basically just upend it on top of the into the baking pan. I'm gonna put the camera down to do that, but after I've put that in, I'll show you what you do next. Okay, once you've emptied it in there, you just kind of want to gently spread it into the corners. Make sure it's all evenly pressed in there. You don't want to be too aggressive with this because you don't want to rip a hole into your dough. You just want to kind of spread it out so it's all spread into the pan. And you want to try and make it so it's an even layer of it. So once you've got it all spread out, you kind of want to take your hand like this, and you just kind of want to press into it all over. Be careful not to poke all the way through into the bottom of the pan. You just want to press in. You just want to keep doing that. And then you just want to make sure everything's at the corners of the pan. Okay. Once you've done that, you want to take the plastic wrap that you had earlier, the damp cloth, and you want to cover it back up again and then let it prove or rest for about 30 minutes. Okay, now that my focaccia is proving in the pan, I have the oven preheating to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Whenever you're using the oven, you should have parent supervision. So the toppings for my focaccia that I'm doing are grape tomatoes that have been cut in half, green olives, and then I'm using sage and rosemary that I've soaked in olive oil that'll also go on as the dressing. You don't have to do the soaking in olive oil. I'll also be using salt and black pepper. Okay, so my oven has hit the desired temperature, 450 degrees, and my dough has risen a bit. So I've taken some of the olive oil that I had here with the herbs, and I've drizzled it over the dough. And a word on toppings: it's your bread. You can use whatever toppings you want. You can use diced onions, mozzarella, salami, pepperoni. If you don't like tomatoes or olives, you can substitute something else in. It does not really matter. Just make sure that the ingredients that you add are cooked through. So when you're adding your ingredients, you don't want to overcrowd the bread, because if you add too many, then the bread won't cook evenly. So what you want to do is you want to take some of your toppings, and in those little divots that are there, you kind of just want to press them in gently. You want to leave a little space between them. So I'm just going to do row of tomatoes. I'm going to do a row of olives. And another row of tomatoes. And then another row of olives. Okay. Once you've done that, you want to add any of the herbs that you're gonna add. So I'm adding rosemary and sage, and you just kind of want to drizzle those on, drop those on a bit, spread them out a tiny bit. Break up the little sage. And you kind of just want to spread them out just a bit. So each part has a little. I'm also going to be adding a bit of basil. And then you're gonna want to add salt and pepper, which I'm gonna do off camera. And once you've done that, you want to put it in the oven, and you want to bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. And you want to, halfway through that, you want to rotate the pan. So if the pan goes in this way, you want to take it out, and then you want to rotate it that way when you put it back in halfway through. Okay, so it's been about 22 minutes and I've taken it out of the oven, and a way to check and see if it's done is to take a toothpick and press it in, and if anything comes out on it, then it's not cooked through yet. So just put it back in for a few more minutes. But mine is all done. So once you know that it's done, you want to take some more olive oil and you want to give it a nice little drizzle all over. And then you can let it cool and cut it and serve it. And this is the finished product. I'd like to thank you for watching. Have fun.